Did Amazon just clap back at HBO with the announcement of their new show, Black America? Well, some people are saying so. Let's talk about it. So, HBO's upcoming drama series Confederate with Game of Thrones creators explores an alternate timeline of seceded southern states where slavery is legal and has evolved into a modern institution. That was announced and a lot of people went crazy thinking that this was not an okay sort of show, something that they didn't want to see on television, especially from two white creators. They didn't think it was appropriate. So then Amazon announced their show Black America. Now, Black America had actually been in development for over a year. It was announced, I believe, last February, but it deals with pretty similar subject matter, it just takes a different turn. This is what Black America is about. Titled Black America, the drama hails from top feature producer Will Packer from Ride Along, Think Like a Man franchises, straight out of Compton, and Peabody winning The Boondocks creator and Black Jesus co-creator Aaron McGruder. It envisions an alternate history where newly freed American slaves have secured the southern states of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama post-Reconstruction as reparations for slavery. And with that land, the freedom to shape their own destiny. The sovereign nation they formed, New Colonia, has had a tumultuous and sometimes violent relationship with its looming big neighbor, both ally and foe, the United States. The past 150 years have been witness to military incursions, assassinations, regime change, coups, etc. Today, after 2 decades of peace with the US and unprecedented growth and ascent, New Colonia joins the ranks of major industrialized nations on the world stage as America slides into rapid decline. Inexorably tied together, the fate of two nations, indivisible, hangs in the balance. And just announcing that, I got chills. That sounds really cool. So after HBO announced Confederate, they decided that it felt appropriate to reveal that Black America was in the works. Now, while the title and the people working on the project had been announced, they'd just been very vague about what it dealt with. When asked why about that, I believe Packer told Deadline, it felt this was the appropriate time to make sure that audiences and the creative community knew that there was a project that pre-existed and we are pretty far down the road with it. Just going on and on, we're gonna get into a talk about this, Amir, but when asked about the ultimate message of Black America and how it might differ a little bit from what we will see or what we know so far of Confederate, which is very, very little, Packer said this: what if reparations were given? What would this country and that alternate country look like today? How would Americans look? Our communities, relations? I think that there definitely is a message about how we coexist today where that didn't happen. There weren't reparations and you still have Black Americans who are suffering from the effects of slavery in various ways. You still have the prison industrial complex that disproportionately imprisons Black and brown people. You can trace that back for many reasons to slavery. And he declined to comment directly on HBO's Confederate, although definitely the comparison about when Amazon announced this and when HBO announced their show is absolutely there. He did say that slavery is far too real and far too painful, and we still see the manifestations of it today as a country for me to ever view it as a form of entertainment. So, Amir, thoughts, questions, comments, concerns on this story? Is this the clapback that people were saying it is on Twitter?
I don't know if it's a clapback, but I can see why people would say that. I'm actually kind of into the whole alternative history type things. I've always been a big fan of that. And initially when the whole news about Confederate came out, I didn't know how I felt about it, and I certainly understood the backlash towards it, but at the same time, I'm like, I support people being able to be creative and create works of fiction to tell a story. I don't think we should be censoring that. I don't think we should immediately jump on and be like, this shouldn't be made for whatever reason. We should let it come out and see how it is and then judge it by its own merit.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I think about this. Do I think that if we are going to compare them side by side, I have
these are two totally different things.
They're very different. They deal with still sort of like this revision, fictionalized history. So that's where the comparison is made. There was a backlash to the announcement of Confederate. That said, I agree with you that all ideas should have the free marketplace of ideas. They should be able to exist. They should be out there. Doesn't mean that they need to be popular and that they need to be liked. This show could come out, and just because it deals with a controversial subject matter doesn't mean that we all need to, like, ooh, this is important, we should nominate this, we should love it. If it's not a well-made show, if Confederate is not a well-made show and it doesn't put forward an authentic and thoughtful approach to storytelling this time in history, or this time in sort of like fictionalized history, then yeah, let's ditch it. And if Black America is great, then awesome. But if Black America is not good, and just because it has these awesome storytellers behind it that do have the more like Black American experience, does that necessarily mean that their show is gonna be better? No, I think this this is all a little bit premature, but I like that they are kind of in competition with each other.
Yeah,
because I think it's going to raise the bar for both shows to make the best content that they can, and that's going to only be good for us as viewers.
There's definitely a market for this, and I think just the creation of these shows says a lot about where we are collectively as a culture right now. It's almost like we're looking for an eject button to get us out of the reality that we're in right now and just come live in these fantasy worlds.
What if this had happened?
Yeah.
I do like looking back and imagining what could have gone differently in history. A show that I enjoyed was on Hulu, and I'm blanking on the title right now, but it was James Franco, and it was about the JFK assassination. Dealt with time travel.
11/20, the date.
Yeah, it's the date. Yeah. It's the date, which I should absolutely know.
Should I watch that? Is it good?
Yeah, it is. It's really interesting. But what it deals with is just looking back at this time, what would have happened. What do we know now in retrospect that we didn't know at the time? If you could bring knowledge to the past, what would you do with that knowledge? Would you do anything? Should we be able to change anything? I think these are really interesting questions. I just hope that they're dealt with in a thoughtful way. But it's too soon to say if they will or they won't.
I love these fantasies. I would be also interested in seeing a show about what's actually happening now with police brutality. Why isn't anyone making a show about that? It's obviously it's because people think it's too controversial to even talk about that, but even a story surrounding an African American being shot and killed by the cops and the fallout surrounding that, I think that would be more powerful than either of these completely fantastistical stories.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I think that there are.
But what, we have to wait 100 years before we can even write about
before
something.
We can look back on it, yeah, or look at the movie Detroit is coming out, and that sort of has the grace of time, where people can look back and well, this is the historical account of what happened. It is a little bit less controversial because we do have the record that the truth comes out over time, usually. I say that after we talk about the JFK assassination, which I have major views on.
Yeah.
No, well, to your point, I recently watched the full series Atlanta, and I think that while that's a comedy and it doesn't necessarily deal with police brutality, it does deal with sort of the black man's experience in America, and it does it in a really, and also there are episodes too about being a woman of color in America. So I think that that's a good show, but it's not really what you're talking about. I think that or Master of None.
Yeah.
It's not like we don't see these experiences on TV, but there is always room for more.
But yeah, anyway, I'm pretty excited about both of these. I'm gonna watch both of them.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when they're released, if they sort of have this pairing on their release dates as well. Because I wonder if the creators want to move away from the comparison or if they want to lean into it and have that as sort of mutual publicity for both shows. I don't know, but we want to hear from you guys in the comment section below. What do you think about Confederate? What do you think about Black America? What do you think about the backlash to Confederate and the celebration of Black America? All that stuff, let's talk about it in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and we will see you next time on Pop Trigger.